You're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with your host, D.Cal.
And happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy D.Cal here from the E.I.T.H.R podcast from the GNSHQ here in Northern California. Actually, I'm not at the HQ today. I'm at the headquarters. I had said before last week during the episode that we were going to be out and about for our Meetup Mondays. Brought to you by Mile. Sorry for the pregnant pause there. There was a car driving by and I didn't want the engine to throw off what I was saying. So the Meetup Mondays on Mile. Every Monday what we're going to be doing is going to different places, different towns, different cities, different areas, and doing the podcast from there. Mainly to get engaged with the common folk, with my brethren that's out and about. So today, where I'm at is the Sacramento I Street Bridge. So if anyone who's ever driven into Sacramento, California, you've seen the bridge. It's the connection between West Sacramento to Old Sacramento. And it's a gorgeous bridge, man. So I decided to come out here and mingle a little bit with people that's out here jogging, riding their bikes, just taking a couple of walks and things of that nature. And it's towards the end of the shift, so there's a lot of people getting off work. You have a lot of business people here at the hotel, so they're kind of out and about. I'm not really going to be engaging too much with people because they all look like they don't want to be bothered, and I do want to respect that. So we're going to kind of just keep it isolated, and if somebody decides to have something to say, we'll bring them to the E.I.T.H.R podcast. For those of you who are new, the E.I.T.H.R podcast is the elephant in the room where we talk about discussions and topics that are usually difficult for people to have in the inner circle because so many people tend to be short-sighted or just have one perspective on viewpoint. So we kind of look at everything from a different perspective. Think of this as the podcast where we play devil's advocate. We try to look at every angle possible, or at least every angle that we can think of. So even if you leave this episode with the same perspective you had when you started it, at least you have a better understanding of why you agree or disagree with something. So thank you very much for tuning in, and if you're a repeat person, welcome back to episode number 91 of the E.I.T.H.R podcast. So we're going to start everything out like we normally do, give a shout out, and we do it inspirational or motivational. I want to give a shout out to GNS Entertainment because GNSETV.com, which is our TV channel. So if you have any talent, any art, or anything of that nature, you're more than welcome to reach us at Mr. GNS at GNSinc.com. GNSETV has been reaching with a couple of artists who have some talent, whether it be painting, sculptures, animation, things of that nature. So we're working on a playlist so you can view some of the talent that people have on that channel. So that's kind of what we got going right there. So I want to give a shout out to that because that project is another form of media in which we have the control of the content. So there is nobody in suits and ties with FCC regulations or that's trying to blacklist anybody or self-sabotage anybody, manipulate or try to intimidate. You don't have to worry about none of that shit. So if you have something that you would like to get broadcasted, it's a small station. We're just starting up. We're just starting out. But it's going to be something big. It's going to be something major. And I don't believe that there's anything like that right now. So you might want to get ahead of the curve. So shout out to GNSETV.com. Free subscription. Sign up for it. And go ahead and support the cause. Inspirational, motivational. Let's get right to it. I want you guys to understand something when it comes to this kind of stuff. Some people refuse to celebrate you because you have grown beyond the limits they gave you. People want to fit you in a box. And because you outgrew that box, they don't like you. Because you blew the lid off that motherfucker. You exceeded more than what they thought you were able to doing, and you make them feel bad about themselves. We're going to get right into the podcast in a quick second, but I want to let you guys know. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for your continuous listening and everything. So we got different countries and listen to the podcast now, so it's growing. It's getting some places. So I want to say thank you very much to everyone who is doing this. And we're almost at episode number 100, and I'm excited. I don't know about you, but I'm extremely excited about this milestone of a media platform that we have. So it's only going to get better. It's only going to get stronger. We're going to talk about the Jonathan Majors situation. I'm sure you guys heard about it. If not, you're about to. We're going to get into, surprise, surprise, another mass shooting at another school, unfortunately. And we're going to get into one of my pet peeves that I have about people. If you're in your comfort zone, stay in your comfort zone. I'm not knocking anyone who's in their comfort zone. But I have a problem with those who have this belief of the idea of success and how much of a time they're wasting, not just of themselves, but of everybody else. Basically, they just want attention. They don't want to do anything. They just want the attention. They just want the perception of being successful while not doing a fucking thing about it. So we're going to get into all of that. I just want to stop the music and kind of give you guys a heads up on what's coming for the podcast. So we're going to get a word from our sponsor right quick, and in about 30 some odd seconds after that, we're going to get started on the podcast and everything we have going on so you can enjoy the rest of your Monday. It's your boy Decal here at the Eat the Podcast. We'll be right back.
Crush all the struggles and pressures that get in your way, big or small, minor or major. We all are fighting demons that others do not know about. But it's how you handle it that makes it look easy. Shop at Mile.today. Again, Mile, MILE.today. Mile.today.
All right, so what I want to do is I want to first get up in this Jonathan Majors thing. And for everyone who knows who Jonathan Majors is, you probably heard, or you probably seen him in Creed 3. You've seen him in Quantumania, the Ant-Man movie. You've seen him in The Harder They Fall. You've seen my man's in a plethora of different films. But right now what's happening is he's involved in a situation of domestic violence. Now, we do live in a society where if you are accused, you are guilty, which doesn't make any fucking sense to me, because you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. But that's in the court of law. When dealing with the court of public opinion, you're guilty because you were involved with. That's how that works, unfortunately. So, it's a situation where there's a woman involved that said that he assaulted her. Strangulation, as well as some other things in New York. So, but his attorney is basically saying that he's innocent. And so, we're not going to know until this thing comes out. First of all, we're not going to know what happened unless we were physically there. The second thing, we're not going to know until everything comes out in the wash. But the fact that he was involved in the situation is publicly hurting my dude, and I don't like that. I want to make sure I get this point across to everybody. Anyone who knows me knows this. Anyone who doesn't know me, you're about to find out. I'm not a supporter of domestic violence. I grew up in a household where domestic violence was a regular occurrence, unfortunately. But it was domestic violence to where my mother was violent towards my father. Now, we're not going to get into my past, childhood, and traumas about that shit. But for everybody who sit back and says, a real person would never put their hands on fill in the blank, you've never been in a situation or you never witnessed a situation. Nobody should put their hands on anybody, ever, unless it's a case of self-defense. Now, that's my opinion from my experience. So we don't know what's going on with Jonathan Major's situation, but I'm going to go ahead and read this. It's from today, and this is an article by Becca Wood, and I'm just going to read part of it, where it says, we quickly gathering and presenting evidence to the district attorney with the expectation that all charges will be dropped immediately. The statement continued. Obviously, I'm reading in part of some of the article. This evidence includes video footage from the vehicle where this episode took place, witness testimony from the driver and others who both saw and heard the episode, and most importantly, 2 written statements from the woman recanting these allegations. His legal team, meaning Jonathan Majors, states that the aforementioned evidence will prove Majors' innocence and show that he did not assault this woman, who has only been identified thus far as a 30-year-old. Majors was arrested on Saturday morning at around 11:14 a.m. when police responded to a 911 call at a location in the Chelsea neighborhood of New York City. Officials say a woman alleged that she had been assaulted by Majors in what police are calling a domestic dispute. The New York Police Department said Majors was taken into custody based on allegations of strangulation, assault, and harassment. And I'll kind of just leave it at there. You can see this report on your own. We don't know what the situation is. I know you heard what I read you, and you have a picture painted in your mind. But for my own personal situation, it isn't a far-fetched guess. Something happened. He defended himself, in which he pinned her, positioned her in a way so that way she could be restrained from assaulting, aggressing, advancing towards him, and then turns around just to be spiteful, calls law enforcement and say that she was assaulted. Now, that's a speculation on my part. Jonathan Majors is a phenomenal actor. So it could have been a situation where, I'm just giving an example, a character kicked into place and he reenacted an acting and legitimately aggressed toward this woman, had a moment, caught himself, stopped, law enforcement was contacted. It could be one of those two situations. It could be neither. It could be something completely different. It could be someone provoked him to doing something and then used his stardom as a manipulation. It could be a situation where someone provoked him, antagonized him to react a certain way. And because he's human, he reacted a certain way. And now it came back to bite him. This is a classic case of people who want to sit back and say, man, if that was me, I would do... Shut up. First of all, we don't know what the situation is. And I've said that I don't know how many times so far in this episode. So we don't know. Everything we're saying is guessing. But I can tell you from my experience, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a situation where something was escalated And this story was used as a ploy to blackmail or just to put a black eye on somebody's career. Because he had 2 advertisements, I believe 2 campaigns with the U.S. military. And because of these accusations, those campaigns have been dropped. So this could have been a ploy to, oh, you're making moves, you got things going on, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this phone call to the police, say you assaulted, and fuck everything up for you. There are some people who are that spiteful. There are some people who are that cruel. There are some people who think like that. That could be not the situation. He could be this demonic, horrible person who is gassed up and his celebrity's getting the best of him. And what has normally turned into a casual conversation with he and whomever, all of a sudden turned into an aggressive one. And who knows? We weren't there. It could be one or the other. But when you have video, when you have audio, when you have witnesses, and then you have the person recanting their decision, that typically says it didn't happen the way we perceive it to have happened. That's not the case. So it could be safe to say this is one of those things where it's not as major, no pun intended, as we think it is. It's just a really bad look. It's a real bad situation that probably hurt him for the moment. And the sad part is when you get to a certain status, even if situations are not true, false accusations can hurt you. False accusations can dampen your career. This isn't like a Will Smith situation. But because of the Will Smith situation, anything that seems to be negative when it comes to domestic violence or violence in particular, everybody doesn't want to touch it. Simply because you're even connected to it. You're related to it. You're associated with it. So this could be a situation that, again, somebody just wants to be bratty. And just, look what I can do. I can ruin your career. Just to be a control situation. And I'm speaking from personal experience. It could be a situation where my man lost his cool and completely went off the Richter and snapped. But the part that says there's witnesses and she's recanting her statement possibly lets me know, A, it didn't happen the way that we think it did. Or, if you really want to go conspiracy theorist, he paid everyone else to say he didn't do it. Again, I don't think that's the situation. But then again, maybe I'm biased because I've been involved in a situation like that. And so my mind goes directly to the opposite of what the article is painting. Or at least the opposite of people who read the heading of the article as painted. Let's just say that. Because there's probably plenty of people who didn't read the article. They just read the heading. They just saw the title and came up with their own conclusion. Came up with their own thesis. Came up with their own story without reading anything. So that could be it. What do you guys think about the situation? What's your opinion about the situation? Do you feel that it's one of those cases of somebody trying to get the best of him? Do you feel that it's a case of somebody trying to blackmail him? Do you feel it's a case of somebody losing his temper and making a move and saying, "Ah, damn, my bad"? What do you feel? What's your opinion on that? Oh, you guys can also go to get the Spreaker app, SPREAKER. Create a profile and you can chat with me. And I realize you can even chat with me on those episodes that I've already recorded. So if you see this episode after it's aired live and you want to go ahead and give your opinion about something, you're more than welcome to. And yes, I can respond back to the chat. And the chat is a thread, so it's not just one-on-one chat. It's basically multiple people can see multiple people chatting. So give you a heads up on that. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about that I brought up is this shooting in Tennessee. Listen, we're having too many damn shootings in this country, as far as I'm concerned. Way too many. And from the video that I saw, the shooter may have been a teenager. And from what I've read, fatally injured during the situation. And I believe they said there was a total of 7 people fatally injured in this. I'm a believer in the Second Amendment. I believe that we do have the right to bear arms. Why do you need an assault rifle in a highly condensed major metropolitan city? Start there. What do you need an assault rifle for living in a big city? Let's question number 1. Question number 2. Why are people feeling so compelled to shoot up a school? Why? I don't understand the thought process. I don't get it. And I understand people want to make comments and gestures. Oh, let me put it this way. Whenever there's a shooting in, I'm using air quotes, black communities, everybody wants to sit back and have an opinion about what that was and what that's about, and make a mockery of not the organization, but make a mockery of the meaning of BLM. Yet when there's a mass shooting at schools, those same people are quiet. I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment. I am. But I also believe there are certain people who don't need to have fucking guns or access to a gun. Here's the funny thing about it. People don't do stupid shit when they know someone else is armed too. You ever thought about that? People don't do stupid shit when they know you got a gun. When they think they're the only one with a pistol, they're brave. But when they know that you're also packing, they're a little hesitant to act crazy. They're more prone to be more civil when they know there's a chance that the rabbit has a gun too. I don't believe in using a gun to intimidate. I firmly believe in using a gun to defend. But schools, listen. I remember reading an article about elementary schools getting metal detectors, junior high schools getting metal detectors. That's stupid. It's stupid. Elementary schools, junior high schools, they do not need to have, in addition, they don't need to have security guards. You know what that is resemblance of? A fucking prison. Now, I'm an overanalyzer. I'm an overthinker. I'm a rational thinker, but I also do think extreme cases every now and then. So if you know me, I will pull out a wild scenario out my ass and talk about it. It doesn't mean that my scenario is too far-fetched or that far off base somewhere in the near future. But when we start doing things like that, and you have this theory of putting security guards at elementary schools and junior high schools. You're normalizing the fact that people are going places and there's guards everywhere. That is very similar to a prison. And for those of you who sit back and have the sort of thinking of, well, if you don't have anything to worry about, you're not going to be bothered by it. That's easy for you to say, troll. But there's a whole psychological thing going on when you need security at school. That means it's not safe. Okay? That should never be a problem. School should not need security, police escorts, or metal detectors. Why is it difficult for certain states to understand gun education should be fundamentally given when purchasing guns? Education and safety tips. Now, I've lived in California majority of my life. I lived in Oregon for maybe a year or so. And in the state of Oregon, you can get a gun 15 to 20 minutes after you purchase it. Easy, no question. Okay? Especially if you have an in-state license or ID. California, there's a 10-day grace period. I'm not too sure about Nevada, but I'm guessing Nevada is you can get the gun same day as well. I'm all about the Second Amendment. What I'm not about is the lack of education people have who own guns. Now, let's put this in perspective. There's a very small percentage of people who do these heinous acts of crime and hatred towards people. A small group. But any of us can understand there's always the small minority that's the loudest who gets the attention. If you really pay attention, out of 10 white people, it'll be 2 to 3 who do some heinous shit, and the other 7 to 8 has to suffer for it. Out of 10 black people, there's 2 to 3 who do some stupid heinous shit, and the rest of them have to pay for it. Out of 10 Hispanics, 2 to 3 would do some heinous shit, and the other 7 or 8 have to pay for it. It's really the small number of things gets extrapolated because it's fear is what's being driven to inform, to educate. I don't want to be afraid of people who own guns. I want to understand that you understand, that we understand. We have a gun. There's a gun involved. And the gun should be used to defend yourself in life or death situations. I don't believe in motherfuckers who provoke a fight, antagonize a fight, egg on a fight, and then when you start to lose the fight that you created, you pull your gun out. That's a bitch move. But I do believe in someone breaks into your home, someone kidnaps or holds ransom or attempts to rob you. Those situations where your family member, a loved one, you're saving somebody's life. Okay, I can understand a gun being used in situations like that. But because you don't know how to fight somebody? No. I don't believe that. If you're getting jumped and these people and your life is in danger, a gun can come in handy. But if you have in any way a means to escape the situation, a pistol should be your last resort. out of 10 police officers, 2 to 3 can do some heinous shit. The other 7 or 8 has to suffer for it. As a security guard, there were escalation. There was levels of escalation. I believe that's what it was called. Levels of escalation, where you had to go through certain levels in order in the situation for you to draw your weapon. The first thing you reach for should not be your gun. I'm sorry. That's old school cowboy mentality. And if the first thing you reach for is that's So the fact that the first thing you want to do in most of these schools is put armed guards there, that's not going to solve the problem. A child shouldn't have to worry about being protected at school. And that's just in general. That's period, point blank. I don't care if it's a security guard, I don't care if it's a law enforcement, I don't care if it's a military agent. Children shouldn't have to worry about situations like that. Federal buildings, okay, I can understand. Banks, definitely, I can understand. Not parks, recreational businesses, or locations, or educational locations. That I don't. So, NRA, why are you so quiet when it comes to mass shootings? Anyone, please respond to this and let me know why. Why? When it comes to mass shootings, nobody wants to deal with gun control. But when it comes to shootings in poor neighborhoods, everybody's up in arms about it. Why this, but not that? Oh yeah. Last thing I want to bring up, if you're in your comfort zone, stay in your comfort zone. I respect the comfort zone. I love a comfort zone. You're comfortable there. But I can't stand people who claim they want to do something, but yet they don't do anything to do it. You are not inspired to do something. You're not motivated to do anything. I'm going to tell you what you are. You're searching for attention. You're saying shit just to get people to react or to respond to what you're saying, to what you're doing, to what you're posting. You're not about that life, bro. You're not about that life. Okay? Listen, I've said this from day zero. Collaborative efforts are the best thing to do. If you were trying to become successful at going to the gym, who's the best person for you to link up with? Probably somebody who goes to the gym. Someone who is doing what you're trying to do or succeeding at what you're attempting to do, that's who you should take advice from. Listen, I've learned this 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. Take successful business advice, take business advice from successful business people, everything else from your family and friends. If you're trying to become good at something, you want to talk to the people who are doing, or who are good at, or who have succeeded at that. That's who you want to talk to. And if they're telling you to do something, that's what you should do. If you have more excuses of why you can't do something, stop pretending like you want to do it. Because now you're just doing it for the dopamine. Now you're doing it for the attention. Now you're doing the shit for the gram. If what you're trying to accomplish is too much work, stop claiming that's what you want to do. Because all you're trying to do is to get people to discuss it with you so you can feel this temporary sensation of you accomplished something. It's very difficult for me to understand people like that. And that's because I myself have done so much to get to where I'm at. And people don't realize the work that it takes to get involved in something. I remember when I was doing real estate and I got fired from working at Nextel. I sat at my desk and I looked at my computer, I looked at my keyboard, and I said to myself, I said, so, well, if I'm going to make any money, I got to get good at this shit. And from that point on, I had to get good at doing what I was doing to succeed at it. Was it comfortable? Fuck no. Was it frustrating? Fuck yes. Were there days when I wanted to quit? Absolutely. Were there days where I quit but came back? As sure as tomorrow comes after today. Yes. But Denzel Washington once said discipline and consistency are keys to you becoming successful. Baby steps. Slow motion is better than no motion. And if you're somebody who you believe these reasons, fill in the blank, or why you cannot succeed, I'll show you somebody who had it way worse than you, who used those same reasons of why they should. You don't have to quit your day job and get involved in something. No, you don't have to do all that. But what you can do is spend 30, 45, 60 minutes of your day building towards your goal. Compound interest. If you want to exercise, take 20, 30, 40 minutes, walk around your block. Something. If you want to lose weight, okay, dedicate one day to clean eating. One day is not going to make much of a dent. I get it. But you can take that one day and say, okay, I accomplished it. Then the next week, do another day. And the week after that, do another day. Then after that, 2 days consecutive. Then the next week, another 2 days consecutive. And the third week, 2 days consecutive. Remember, it takes 3 weeks to create a habit. It takes 3 weeks to break one. But if you're not willing to put in the work it takes to achieve the goal you claim that you are after, you don't want that goal. You want the attention of wanting that goal. I do not respect people like that. I'm sorry. I don't. And I know there's people out there who have certain schedules that reflect difficulty for you to be consistent. You don't have to be consistent every single night at 7 p.m. I don't know why. Listen, if you've never done it before, talk to someone who has. One of my pet peeves of people who've never done it before are going to tell people who have done it before what it's like to do it. And if someone's explaining to you who've been down the path you have yet to travel, this is not how it works. Stop coming up with reasons to prove them wrong. Everybody has to be right, especially about shit they don't know nothing about. I can't stand someone who does things just for attention. If you're doing it for sincerity, if you're doing it for because it's genuine, I respect it. I can't stand someone who has all these opinions about something, but when you check their resume, they never even looked into what it would be like to do it. Again, I come from the experience of something's new. Talk to someone who's done it. How did you do it? And reapply it. I was watching this YouTube video with Michael B. Jordan. And he was doing he was a guest on a podcast. And he was speaking of Creed 3. It took him 3 years to do this film. And he directed it himself. He says in most cases, most projects take about 6 to 7 months. This took him 3 years, which is crucial for you to understand. He's never done it before. So he had to get out of his comfort zone. If you have a time frame set in your mind, you already possibly setting yourself up for failure, because it might take you longer to achieve the goal than the limit you set yourself for. Understand that, man. It's get out of your comfort zone. Only at that point is when you realize you are only limiting yourself. Make sense? Anyway, that's all I got on that. It's your boy, man, Decal, here at the I Street Bridge here in Sacramento, California for Meetup Monday. Mile Meetup Monday. Shout out to Mile.today. MILE.today. Clothing apparel. Sponsor for the E.I.T.H.R podcast. Follow us on social media. Instagram and Twitter at the E.I.T.H.R. TheEITHR. GNSETV.com. Subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys next time. We out.